coming out. My name is Tom Bowman. I am the coordinator of the UW Students for a Free Tibet, and I just wanted to thank you once again for coming out. This is going to be the basic rundown of the schedule today. So we're actually going to have the WTA president speaking. Lapsang, he'll give his speech. What we're going to do then is the street theater. We're going to be reenacting the Nangpa La Pass.
Thank you very much. I wrote this speech just yesterday night. It's very brief, I won't take much time. It is my greatest pleasure to be here with the young friends, Students for Free Tibet, Madison chapter, along with other members of Students for Free Tibet, represent the Wisconsin Tibetan Association in Madison in our united fight for freedom of Tibet. Here a picture of His Holiness Dalai Lama. It's considered to be a big crime, and people are continuously arrested and jailed. Bringing up the subject of independence has had many executed without any fair trial. Despite all the repercussions, Tibetan inside.
My name is Kala Mendoza. I'm with Students for Free Tibet in New York. The issue of the Tibetan freedom movement is extremely close to all of our hearts here. Many of us may not be Tibetan, but we will fight alongside the Tibetan people until Tibet is free. We will fight alongside the Tibetan people until His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama is finally in the Potala Palace. We will fight alongside the Tibetan people until the younger children and their avalags can return to Tibet without the fear of the Chinese government looking over their shoulders. This is a pledge we have. We will not abandon the Tibetan people in their most desperate hour of need. We will be the best supporters we can be. Thank you for allowing us to fight alongside with you. And know this, we will never stop fighting until China is out of Tibet. Until Tibet is finally a free and independent nation. Until pictures of His Holiness the Dalai Lama is finally in every Tibetan home without people being afraid of the Chinese government. We will not stop until the Tibetan flag is over the Potala Palace and the flag of the Gyami is off. The theater put on by the University of Madison, Wisconsin, Students for Free Tibet. We mean the utmost respect towards those that have passed, and we hope to utilize this forum to inform the rest of the world that the atrocities of China will not go unheeded. The atrocities of China will stop, and it will be with Tibetans and their supporters fighting against the Chinese Communist Party. We fight against their policies, we fight against the government. We do not fight against the Chinese people. Like His Holiness said, one day when Tibet is free, we can finally see the Chinese off, not as enemies, but as friends. 60
other international mountaineers. We saw a group of Tibetans walking through the dangerous Nangpa La Pass towards Nepal. The group consisted mainly of women, young children. We didn't know at the time that they were going to seek His Holiness for religious teaching, and that many of them were nuns and monks. Suddenly we saw a group of Chinese officers crouched, facing the Tibetans who were unarmed with guns. Began to run away, but the snow prevented them from fleeing. The Chinese guards ran down and captured women and children and young men who were unable. They took them back to Tibet, what they called China. Possibly to torture, definitely to imprison. Two who found dead. So buried them like cannibals. that group were unaccounted for. It was a tragic, tragic case. We are afraid to see. Unfortunately, we don't see the international community. That's tragic.
So, this was a small representation of what happened at Nangpa La Pass. Every year, Tibetans escape the horrific and oppressive climate inside Tibet, sending their children to His Holiness the Dalai Lama to be taught at the Tibetan Children's Village in Dharamsala. One must ask, what would make young Tibetan mothers send their children across the Himalayas over the winter? It is clearly because the oppressive policies of the Chinese Communist Party. And here today, we have the amazing Tibetan community of the local area with us. Let us raise our voices for those that do not have one. Let us raise our voices so the government in Beijing can hear. Let us raise our voices for the Tibetan brothers and sisters in Lhasa to hear. Let us protest voices so the rest of Medicine can hear. Tibet will be! Tibet will be! What do we want? Free Tibet! What do we want? Free Tibet! When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
China!
Out of Tibet!
China!
Out of Tibet!
China!
Out of Tibet!
China!
Out of Tibet!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on
China!
Shame on
China!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China!
Tibet for! Tibet for! Tibet for! Long live! Long live! Long live! What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
China!
Out of Tibet!
China!
Out of Tibet!
China!
Out of Tibet!
Shame on!
China!
Shame on!
China! Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Free Tibet!
When do we want it?
Now!
China!
Out of Tibet!